Welcome to another Jacob Wayne show. I am your Jacob Wayne, and with me, as always, is the lubricious and sly Kellen Gibbons.
How you spell lubricious? What is that?
Lubricious. Let's find a definition right here. This will be against what I wanted to do with this episode, but that's okay. We'll learn a word.
You just used it and you don't even know what it means?
Arousing or expressive of sexual desire, lustful or lecherous.
Well, I'll be damned. That is a good word.
I was looking for a synonym with slippery.
Oh. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
so my lubricious guest host, Kellen. I don't even know if you're a guest host now. I kind of look at what we do as like the Conan and Andy Richter thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you just next to me and we're going through the stuff.
Yeah, it's like a guest house, but it's just attached to the house.
Yeah, you're the other host.
Yeah.
So that was a great opening number by Hot Surprise.
Ooh.
Crust punk band out of the stinkiest parts of the Southwest.
Indeed. I didn't even, I forgot. Forgot about the bands.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had a band on in a while.
Yeah, we're a new show, and they don't always get thought up seconds before the show starts recording.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just hard to book them.
Well,
but
Hot Surprise
today we're
always comes in.
That's true. It's the second part of the band name.
They always show up.
Before we hop into what we're doing today, what you sipping on? 3, 2, 1. I'm just doing a Montucky and sipping on Black Barrel Jameson whiskey.
Oh, you got the Black Barrel.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what was recommended to me. I'm not a well-versed whiskey guy, but I went to this local brewery called Purpose Brewery in Fort Collins. I was just kind of looking at all their barrels, and we got into a discussion about barreled whiskey in Kentucky, which was where one of our friends is from. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get some sipping whiskey. And it was St. Patrick's Day, and kind of all came together.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you see the Caskmates with the Stout edition, that one is also fantastic.
I think I almost grabbed it, but I went with the recommendation.
I like the Stout one just a little bit more, but that's just me. The Black Barrel is also really good.
Okay.
Every Jameson I've had has been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the standard for like good whiskey. I know there's people that are like probably snobby and like, ugh.
Oh yeah, you can pay a lot more, but no, Jameson's good. I'd say.
Like Jack Daniels has a look. You're like, I only drink Jack Daniels. You're like,
Yeah.
Or it's like, I only drink Goldschlager.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine what that guy looks like.
Goldschlager, Santa's cousin.
Yeah.
He stumbles around drunkenly in the North Pole. Nobody hears about him.
Oh no. Yeah, I can imagine that would I could get crazy. I've never even had that stuff.
It was big in my early days of like not really drinking yet because I wasn't 21, but sometimes you're 20 and stumble into a spot and oh yeah, and so that was like the sneaky I take 2 shots of that, I'm fucked up.
Yeah.
And then the tail of it going into your stomach and like cutting little holes so it'll get you drunk faster.
Yeah, what I was
That
just
really
thinking that
worked.
is that from a movie or is that like
I
Superman
don't
that
know.
talks about that or I can't remember where I heard that from or why that's come up or is
I
that just
heard that before Superbad came out, so it
okay.
must be like a thing that is like a myth. Like, you know, it might be true. I'm not saying it isn't, but
I
it does sound a little silly now that I think about it. It's like, who would sell little shards of gold to cut your stomach?
no, yeah, because it's like food grade gold. If you actually mess with it, it's like finer than paper. You know,
Right.
it's nothing. Can't I don't think it could cut a thing.
But yeah, there was almost something kind of like it was always when I was about to make out with somebody and we're young and hey, skadoodly, and we're like, we're gonna do Goldschlager, and I think the idea
Ooh.
of just having gold in both of you, just like, yeah, it's very like stupid, horny 20-year-old thought.
Huh. Yeah, it's interesting. I just wish I just want that orb drink back. Zorbs. What was that stuff? Had all the floaties in it.
I don't know, man.
Oh, good times.
Skittlebrow, I think you must have dreamed it.
It was real.
Do you remember that from Simpsons?
Yeah.
I love that. That's probably one of the most memorable lines from that show to me.
Nice.
Just comes up. It's like, and I'll have a sixer of Skittlebrow. It's like, Skittlebrow, I'm afraid we don't have that. He's like, well, I'll just take a 6-pack of Budweiser and 2 bags of Skittles then.
Well, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
There's the cola bison, where you just do a half beer, half Coke, just in a glass. That's a thing. People drink that.
Well, that was another dumb thing we did in our 20s is we're like, we gotta do Skittlebrow, man.
Oh, Lord.
It's pretty gross, but, you know, it's like we just threw 5 in a beer and like, whatever.
I mean, if you did like all lemon ones and a Hefeweizen, maybe? I don't know. Who
I
knows?
created a shot once called the Gurgis.
Ooh.
And the only reason I called it the Gurgis was because I worked at a call center and one of the people's last names that just kind of randomly gets dialed was Gurgis, and it was Grigic.
Huh.
And so I tried to think of what a Gurgis would taste like, so we did tequila, rose, milk, tequila, or other kind of Jose Cuervo tequila, some whiskey, lemon juice maybe, but now I feel like maybe I'm making up the rest of it. But it was mostly like
Hard
beer, whiskey, tequila, rose, and it kind of went over better than you would think.
Is that
People were like, that's disgusting, and then they try some and they're like, all right, Gurgis, don't do that once.
Does it like with the milk in there? Does your stomach make a gurgus noise when you eat? That sounds like the name for that noise, which is very close, I believe. I can't remember what it's called, but
It's like the stomach.
Yeah, the rumbling
crawling.
Stomach. Yep. There's a name for it that seems awfully close to Gurgus. It's kind of like an onomatopoeia.
Gurgle? Gurgus? Yeah, I don't know.
But
yeah, now I think about all those drinks and I'm like, oh Lord, that's a lot of sugar.
What is tequila rose? I've never even had that.
It's good. It's like a cream, maybe strawberry flavored tequila. It's really tasty. We'll have to try some. Maybe if I had it now, I would be like, oh, it's so much sugar. But
Yep.
I don't know. What are you sipping on?
Well, before I tell you, that noise is called a borborygmi, which is it's like an onomatopoeia.
Borborygmi.
Borborygmi. So that it's supposed to, I guess it's supposed to sound like that.
Nobody plays that instrument in the woodwind section.
Nope.
Except Leopold.
It is called the bubble gut too, that's way better.
Oh, I get the. I've had many a dates where I was really nervous about the date, and my stomach, I guess, just like.
Yep, the bubble gut.
And I'm like, I'm really sorry. It's not a fart. I still smell delicious. It's just, yeah, you make me nervous.
Yep.
It would work on some women. Other women are like, ew.
Gross.
Why the hell is he giving me any excuses for anything? He should just do whatever he wants. Be a toxic man.
Yeah. Some people like that. It's weird.
It's that, I want you to be an asshole because it turns me on. And you're like, well, do I let you know when I flip the switch into asshole? Don't tell me. And you're like, yeah, I'm not going to try to figure that out.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time to run.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kind of Looney Tunes your way out of there.
Indeed.
So, we're going to do a couple things a little slightly different today. So I'm going to call this episode Fireside Chat 1.
Oh.
For those that know your history, you'll probably be rolling your eyes. But for those that don't know, Fireside Chats were a series of evening radio addresses given by Franklin D. Roosevelt. That's FDR. I think the only president to hold 4 terms. And he was president during World War II. Until the very end, and that was the next dude, Truman. And so Roosevelt would speak with familiarity to millions of Americans about recovery from the Great Depression, the promulgation of the Emergency Banking Act in response to the banking crisis, the 1936 recession, New Deal initiatives, and the course of World War II. So, on radio, he was just able to quell rumors, counter conservative-dominated newspapers, and explain his policies directly to the American people. His tone and demeanor communicated self-assurance during times of despair and uncertainty.
Bam.
So, as I learned all that stuff, I'm like, yeah, like, we could use a fireside chat, that kind of vibe again, and nobody wants it from their president anymore. Like, even the dude I voted for, I don't want a fireside chat with him. But, just kind of your regular podcast radio buddies, like, sure.
Indeed.
So, what I'm thinking this format is normally we're kind of going over some, like, media stuff, like a new movie that came out or a trilogy we just revisited, or who passed away, what albums are coming out, things like that. But this, we kind of turn all that off for a section, and we kick back with our sipping whiskey. You can kick back with whatever you like to enjoy. This could also be called Pot Talk Radio. I think we've talked about that. And you just kick back, and we just discuss. And I was going to bring up a story that we have, and that's kind of figured to get it all rolling. But before we start that, another thing I want to introduce into the show is kind of like all of our stuff up front. We'll do it right after we crack our beers in the future. But it's just like an opportunity to plug anything that either one of us is doing. Kellen, what kind of things you've been working on? Anything coming out?
Let's see. I think I've been up to date. The Highline Drifters, the new single is coming out soon. So White Pine Lonesome Blues has been going around, spreading around a little bit. That's been fun. Then Beatnik should also be dropping a new single here in the next few days. So I don't know if I mentioned that one, but it dropped last night, a couple weeks ago or so. So yeah, that one's been getting a really good response. I actually got written up by some reviewers that put it on their playlist, and one of them was
nice.
from One of them was like, I don't know, it was in Spanish and the other one was in German. So haven't seen any English reviews yet, but people in other countries like it.
Maybe that could be the song that you put underneath this section right here.
Oh.
So while we're talking, you give the listeners a little taste of the new single.
Ooh, I could put a little stabby. Ooh, listen to that. Hear that?
And
That's
then
me.
you could even and then like you could then put in like a little sample of well, okay, say it again, I'm sorry.
Last
There's
night.
There's Highland Drifters, and then who was the next dude?
Beatnik.
Beatnik, that's right.
Group, yeah.
Yeah, you could do that right here. Just, ooh. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It could happen.
But yeah. This could be a way for us to help promote our friends and the things they do. Our buddies in Spliff Tank down here in Fort Collins, they're going to have a show on the 29th. It's a Monday at the Lyric Theater.
A show?
Yeah, it's going to be all properly distanced. You can kind of maintain.
Wait, you mean
it's not back to normal, but it's starting to feel like it's getting there.
Like people in a room?
I think it might be outdoors.
Oh.
But I'm not sure. Maybe it's a little mixture.
I didn't think people were allowed to have fun right now.
Not yet. Not yet. No fun. But also, I guess on my end, I've been selling prints. One for $15 or two for $25. Yeah, one person bought 3 of them and just paid me $40. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that rolling, and you can check out my images just searching Jacob Wayne Bryner or ArtJWB, ArtJWB.com, or on Instagram, or Google it, and you'll find me.
Yep. I showed somebody our podcast today, and he was like, "Oh man, that art is cool." I was like, "Well, it just so happens there's more."
That's
I
true.
Totally plugged.
That's great.
Well,
yeah,
you said
I've been doing it a while.
Those things been selling like hotcakes. Those prints. Is that what was implied by your post? You said you were gonna have to I
don't know if I'd say hotcakes, but they're moving, nice. And it's picking up, and so yeah, it's going good. Yeah, I don't know if they're hotcake status yet, but they're moving. It's like you order a bulk thing of 10, and they're kind of sort of limited because you're you got to move on to the next painting that you can get 10 of, So I'll always keep 1 copy, so that takes it down to 9. And so I've only had 3 so far, and they're all down to about 5 left or 4 left. So in about a month's worth of pushing it, you sell about half your stack each time you do it, but it's really affordable bulk ordering at a Printivity. They didn't pay me to say this. It's just, if you want bulk printing, go to them. It's affordable.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I'm going to have one of those and put them in a little plastic container and have them for art festivals or shows or whatever.
There you go.
And then, so I'm just pushing that. So check it out if you're interested, or I'll make an announcement real quick, and we'll see how many people actually hear this. I'll probably have to do a written announcement, too. With my pet portraits. Next year, 2022, I'm going to move the price up to $300.
Mm-hmm.
And snip off the shipping. So it's $300, and don't worry about shipping so long as you're in the continental U.S.
Nice. Now that's
the reason for that is, I end up doing a lot of pet portraits, and it's cool, but I'll be honest, paying the bills, it's got to make me a little more money. And if that means that I take a little bit of a dip in doing pet portraits, then that makes me have to be creative and do stuff that's challenging. Not to say that the pet portraits aren't challenging, but you kind of get into a groove with them, and
Well,
it would be good to create space to like, I have to use my imagination and weird angles and things like that.
and you're getting really good at them. I mean, they all have looked good, but yeah, the new ones seem like they're getting like really realistic looking.
Yeah, I think you could get into like the sections of it, and the very first ones I did were a little more cartoony, and they were $100. Then they got a little better, a little more detailed, more color, and that's $200. And I think they are starting to get up into that range where it's like, I've never been the hyper realism or realistic painter. It's like I like a little style and painterly flourish. But yeah, it's they're starting to look like the dogs. Like you can put it right next to them and like, oh holy shit.
I mean, mine does, and it's a couple of years old now, but yeah.
No, and that's what's funny is I love that one. It's a unique one out of all of them, but I can totally see where I was at the time. So I see a certain brush stroke and I'm like, oh man, I just kind of went for it on that part of the ear. It's just like,
yeah.
But that's another interesting thing, at least to me, is that as I progress, people's like photos have gotten really like, okay, it's this at this angle. This is like a professional photo we took once, and the lighting's all natural, and I can zoom right in on the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to such a better painting. A lot of the early ones, it was like, here's this pixelated one I took on MySpace a little while ago. you're like, oh shit! Like,
I'm glad I could get it. It's still up.
Yeah, so when you zoom in on like the dog's eye, it's like 6 squares, different shaded squares. It's that pixelated.
Oh boy.
And you're like, I guess I could assume what the glint in his eye was like, but people get weird like that with their pets. They're like, no, the light doesn't reflect on his eyes like this. It goes a little lower like that. And you're like, oh, okay. So anyway, we just... In the future, this section will be a little more zippity-doo-dah, like quick. But I was just going to also mention that my band Gamma Pa, we've begun rehearsals and preparing to record our third EP.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm pretty stoked about it. I'm going to do some things on the bass as far as like effects and whatnot that I haven't done on other releases. It's kind of like more distorted. It's like that rhythm guitar thing I remember talking to you about. It's just like it's bass, but I'm doing like kind of, rhythm guitar stuff.
Yeah.
So just putting like kind of that chunky, like, I'm pretty stoked about it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we'll commence our fireside chat. Get your sipping whiskey, get whatever you need. And kick back. I'm sorry my nose is a little stuffy.
Yeah,
But
that happens.
It's winter time. You better cozy up by the fire.
Gonna tell you all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's so much cooler to have an old radio though. Just you had a different sound. That way.
Tell me once more.
Yeah. That just like really high and nasally, just put you right in there.
Grab your liqueur and your jazz cabbage. Pull up near the flame, like the warmth of your government.
I'm going to put just that part. I'm actually going to turn that part to make it sound like it's on an AM radio just for fun.
83 hours ago, the jazz cabbage arrived. And it is now time to sit by the fire with the liqueur and discuss the doings and the ins and outs of your government.
Let's do it. How's that going, anyways?
Yeah. Well, one thing I was going to talk to you about. 1 year ago today was when you and your brother Corey, the drummer in our band Koshka,
Yeah, Yeah.
You were already planning on coming down to come see Devin Townsend
Yep.
in Denver, and that had already been canceled a bit because of COVID just barely kicking up.
Yeah.
And basically, I feel like it was like halfway on your ride down to stay here. Everything was like, it's all shut down.
Yep.
And it was like, well, fuck, am I going to turn them back? And if they got it, they got it. And if we got it, we got it. I don't know. So you guys came down and showed up that evening, and we kind of just hung out for, it was like the weekend, I guess.
Yeah. Wasn't too long, but we were there
Yeah,
for quite a few
so
days. Yeah.
we just ordered food. Did we even go to a store? Like, didn't even have masks or anything really yet, or maybe we did.
No, we did go to the store, but I think they were just like limiting people or something. Because I think we went to Wilbur's and
Right.
Whole Foods or something.
No, we definitely went to Wilbur's. So yeah, like nothing ever like completely 100% shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the weird time when nobody, it's like, holy shit. This isn't just one of those 15 cases trying to scare you news story.
Yep.
And so we did, I think a lot of people got onto it and plenty more before us, but we were one of the early people to be like, let's do a concert.
Live stream.
Yeah, so we're just going to live stream a Koshka concert and a Gamma Pod concert, collaborate in the room and all that stuff. And I had a lot of fun getting that ready.
Yeah. It was a good time. I went back and watched those. There's some pretty decent little concerts, I'd say. I guess I'm biased.
We could have rehearsed more, but meh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, that was a weird time. Since you've been back, have you been able to go to Lucille's? I think you came back in like March, or not March, sorry. When did you come back? August?
Yeah. That sounds right. Yeah, we went to Lucille's, sat outside.
Okay.
Was all COVID protocol following.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to give kudos to them because as things have changed, they're such a like compact little restaurant inside this old house, and that was like part of the charm.
Yeah.
Before any of this, and then yeah, when something like this hits, you're like, holy shit, how are they gonna do that? And the wait was already pretty long because it's a great place, and then that just made it longer. But we went there today, and they got the little tents outside with the heaters, and people are back inside. And one of the waitresses was like, "Hey guys, I haven't seen you in a while," because we'd go there a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right. So that was one of those little moments of like stuff's feeling like it's getting back to normal. But yeah, a year ago today, it was weird.
I remember
felt like a Stephen King novel or something.
I know, for real. I remember we were just like hanging out. We're like, well, shit. This'll be interesting to see what happens with all this. Let's just play video games and music, though. Just ignore it.
Well, that's kind of what you do in times like that. I remember after like 9/11 and stuff, like a lot of people would kind of just get together and like make some comfort food and watch movies and kind of just try to be together and process whatever's going on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was kind of like that, like, oh, almost like Christmas Eve type of vibe to it, but just with like a hint of apocalypse.
Yeah, just a little tinge.
And yeah, like a little bit of cardamom, right, in your coffee.
Yeah.
And I won't say who, but we were like walking. And I remember the ideas about what COVID was going to be. like that was the early stages. Like, well, it could be like a government thing, could be that, like it's just, oof. And we're all just like trying not to freak each other out. It's kind of like when you're having a sleepover when you're a kid, and you got like the flashlight under your face. You shut up, shut the fuck up.
Stop it, man.
Don't stop talking about that, man. And you just get like, where's my Music City hot chicken? I want it. Just give it to me.
Yep, that's all I want.
But yeah, so we made it, man. So this can bleed into our philosophy section.
Word.
And we'll see how it goes. But like, after 1 year of all this, you've basically lived through a pandemic. It's not as bad, but it's kind of Spanish flu stuff. Like, they'll talk about it 100 years from now.
Yeah,
it's a major thing. And how do you feel you've changed over the year, and in what ways for the better?
Man, I really haven't been that affected. I'm kind of an introvert,
Yeah.
I really didn't. It wasn't too hard, I've been keeping in touch with you and a lot of other buddies just online. That, anyways, I don't hang out in real life too much. Anyways, I do miss all my real life buddies, but my couple of bands have still been getting together to rehearse, just very safely, and I been teaching. I kept teaching online. All my gigs did go away for a couple of months there, but my the restaurant I play at, it was cool enough to have me go play in their parking lot. Like, I still am like, that's so cool that they just paid me to go play for people who pull up and get food and leave. There were a few people that stayed and ate. They tried to do it, like, come sit in your car and eat and listen while you do that, but nobody did. But so that gig came back, and then I've been playing in the restaurant for a couple of months now, so, quite a few now. So mine hasn't been nearly as bad as other people, like people who are just in bands who can't do that thing, and most venues are not really open yet either, and the ones that are look terrifying to me. There's only one that I'm comfortable playing currently, so yeah, that's about what it's done to me. And I do feel like when I do get back to hanging out with people, I'm gonna definitely kind of enjoy it more. I'm not gonna take it for granted. Didn't realize, because I do miss it. None is too little, but I just don't need it as much as some other people probably.
Well, I think that was the thing I realized is one of my buddies once said to me, he's like, "You're the most extroverted introvert I've ever met." It was before I knew what those words meant, and I was like, "What the fuck? What?" But after I kind of thought about it over years, late at night when I can't sleep, I was just like, "No, yeah, I really don't like people very much." There's an elaboration to it, is that I love people and I think they're fascinating, but it's kind of like the thing George Carlin used to say is, I love a person, but people are terrible.
Yep.
So you get them in a group and it's just... So you've probably learned this after being my friend for a while. I really enjoy a good one-on-one, or like maybe 4 people at most. After that, it changes, and I feel like I've got to be a show monkey and just dance.
Yeah.
And that's my own neuroticism, but I feel like I need to be on.
Or you start
and telling interesting stories and blah, 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 blah.
You start sinking into that like smaller group setting with some people, just like in a kitchen at a party or something, and then when somebody interrupts that, comes up and starts being annoying, you just slap the shit out of them.
That's true. But anyway, my point being is that not a lot of my lifestyle changed when COVID kicked in either. Like, I've been really doing a lot of like independent contractor stuff, so I just go work for a week, hammer this together, move that there, and then I come home and work on painting. So way more isolated than the work I was doing up in Seattle. And I remember up in Seattle, all that socializing like wore me out. Like I would go home, like I didn't want to do anything after work. But the flip side of it is this, and it's like I actually miss being in a cafe with a lot of hustle and bustle going on around me. Yeah. Or like going into an airport and it's just this big active room. Like I like to be around people in places that aren't requiring me to interact with them.
Yeah.
That's why like concerts can be a little like pendulum swingy in that way.
Yeah.
Because it's like sometimes they're way too intimate and you're like, that's not what I want for this. I want big heavy show and let me have my beer over here while this person's smoking over there, blah blah blah. But then sometimes you do want an intimate show and there's just all this fucking hustle and bustle and just nobody gives a shit that you're playing and yeah. But for me, like airports, downtown parts of cities, like I love that shit.
Yeah, I do love sitting in a good cafe.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
I suppose that was one other thing I was going to talk about is you mentioned like some of the work going away real quick. And I remember at the time I was thinking like, holy shit, nobody's going to buy art. Like, I'm fucked. Like shit.
Uh-huh.
And surprisingly, in some aspects, and it's always a roller coaster ride. Sometimes it's when it rains, it pours kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it stayed pretty consistent and hit hard sometimes. Like I was like, damn, it's still growing. So I think people's fears about the economy getting fucked up, I think a lot of what's going on is it's like shifting.
Yeah,
and a lot of things are being tested right now, like concepts of like universal basic income and automation and online work meetings and working from home.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh, we didn't need to come into the office for that. Or, oh, I do value art. I need to buy some.
Uh-huh.
Or, yeah, like podcasts. How many people do you think started a podcast? We did.
Yep. We did it,
but we always wanted to. So, like, it's not like COVID inspired it. We just never got around to it until we're like, oh, let's sit down and do it.
I'm pretty sure we were planning on doing it when it was a Devon trip.
Yeah, that's true. And so, yeah, man, it was interesting how both of our lines of work kind of managed to maintain.
Yeah.
Some people call it the gig economy.
Yep.
And I guess we've adapted to that a little bit. I wouldn't say we're the best at it. There's people that seem to like thrive at that stuff. But yeah,
we're
growing
learning.
up, we adapted to like, oh, well, now just pick up a little work here, a little bit of work there, a little bit there, a little bit there.
You know, one of the interesting...
Market this on the side.
Yeah. One of the interesting things was like my repairs, you know, I do the repairs for the guitar store up here. And just the amplifiers, not the guitars. And
yeah.
Man, it was crazy how many old stuff started showing up the first couple like months. Like everybody was pulling out their amps out of the garage. And, you know, the pots were all
I'm
dirty.
gonna relearn guitar.
Yeah, exactly. And so we did all these old amps. They're like, yeah, I haven't touched this thing in years. Just pulled it out. I'm like, yeah, well, there you go. In fact, some of them I didn't even have to like actually do anything, but just like, you know, mess with it for a while. Like, you know, it's old stuff. It's been sitting there for a while. Just turn all the knobs. Just turn every single knob on that thing all the way like 10 times, and you'll be amazed at how much you can fix just doing that.
Yeah. As I've mentioned before, I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm painting, so I forget where this came from. But they were talking about how many people, when the pandemic started, do you think I'm going to write my book now, or I'm going to make my album, I'm going to learn how to play the theremin.
Oh, my homie.
They all started, and then they're like, oh, there's a reason I never do this. It's just like, no, I'm not gonna write a book. What the fuck was I thinking? Like, immediately slip into Netflix, alcoholism, and sugar.
I'm sure some people did the thing. Like, well, this isn't far off, but my buddy was just telling me that he picked up Skyrim. He had never played Skyrim because he knew he
Fuck
would
yeah.
love it. So he was like, well, this is a good time because he's a
Well,
musician too. So,
okay, but let me break that off and see if that is its own unique sociological thing. The the video game thing, like, took off during all this.
oh, yeah.
Like, we sat with our little group and played Minecraft for the first, at least I played for the first time. I think
Dude.
our other buddy Shockey played for the first time, and
We
we went hard on that and played all kinds of games, and we would get on every night
I think we
because we
went.
needed the socialization.
Yeah, I think we went hard on Minecraft, even by like Minecraft standards. That was some incredible shit we did there. And yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun. I really enjoyed that game. And yeah, we were on like all day, every day for a while there. Like
Yeah.
there was a lot of Minecraft.
Well, and I mean, it was nice to escape into that world, and I think we're all kind of getting into our 30s and mid 30s, and
Yep.
it was kind of like, oh, I see why the youth likes this game. It was like
Oh yeah.
a way to connect with, like, oh, wow. Like, and I think a lot of people did that too with like movies. They watched stuff they never had the time to watch, and they're like, those Friday the 13th movies are terrible, but they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so I think it's been glorious for the arts in that way. And
Yep.
my buddy Arthur James up in Seattle, he was on the podcast up there, Marginal Way, with Natalie Gray. And he talked about how coming out of this, we have an opportunity to kick off a new renaissance. And I think
For
I
real?
could totally get behind that. Obviously,
That's
I'm
true.
biased. I'm into that stuff, but
Yeah, I read another article that was like, we need to kind of dismantle big music. Like, we gotta get rid of that shit, and we are on the way, and we should stay on that way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I watched the Grammys. We wanted to have a party and watch them, so I watched like good 2 hours of it, like on and off. We were eating, and they were just on in the room. And my God, yeah, we gotta dismantle big music for sure. Gotta get rid of that shit. Ooh.
All I would say to that is there still has to be those bands out there that are more spectacle. Like, I think Tool, Slipknot, maybe Blue Man Group.
What? No,
Like,
no.
like we need shows that are like all messed up and theatrical and
all those bands are
huge.
millions of times more talented and better than all the music that was on the Grammys.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
aware of
even
that.
Slipknot. Okay.
but I'm getting to a point. Go with me here. It's Fireside Chat. And those bands would have, like amazing light shows and all this syncopated stuff going on. And you're like, holy shit, wow. Like Nine Inch Nails is a good example of that. Really elaborate light show to go along with everything. And I think it's a thing you can look up. Part of Fireside Chat is we're trying to not Google and Wikipedia a bunch of shit. This is kind of more chit-chatty, but you could look it up. And I believe there was a thing about Trent Reznor was like, Kanye West stole my stage setup. I think he knows that, though, and I'll just say you're welcome. And
oh, wow.
Basically, it's like a lot of these big music acts like stole all the really cool shit that these big epic bands do, and then they can jack up the ticket price because it becomes more spectacle. But then so much of it is just stuff being blasted by a DJ while somebody kind of sort of lip syncs over it. But then it's spectacle, right? So it's like this offshoot of this really cool thing, and it became cancerous, and it's growing, and that's evolution. And it's like, hopefully it does like kind of cut that off. but we can appreciate the spectacle, and then, but also like, oh no, yeah, I want to hear Billie Eilish in her living room actually sing that song. And if she is just going to process it and overproduce it, we can all tell now because we've all kind of learned about that stuff. So we know if you're kind of putting on a show or if it's authentic.
Yeah. That was my first time hearing Billie Eilish, and it was probably the best thing that was at the Grammys. But it's like not bad, you know. It's supposed to be like the best of the best. So it's just like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually like passable. Okay. But
Did you watch the Grammys?
like half of it, like I said, like 2 hours or so. Apparently it was like 4 hours long. But
Wow.
I couldn't make that. Nope.
Was that the only thing that stuck out? Was her?
Oh, there were some cool tributes. That was another thing I liked. There was a tribute, and Brandy Carlisle did a John Prine song, and she killed it. That was good. But
All right,
that's an old.
I think I know that this is definitely an area where I do become biased because I just think about Grammy shows in the '90s, and I didn't like 70% of the music during those shows either, at least at the time.
Yeah.
But it seemed to have more variety and, I don't know, individual attitude to it. Now it's all glossed over with the same sheen and just everybody's like, oh my god, LOL, OMG.
Oh man, and the popular like rap was just like ungodly bad. Like it all sounded exactly the same. Like all the new stuff that's popular, literally no different. Same hi-hat thing and the same rhythm. It's just like they wait like 2 beats to come in. It's like 1 2 da 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 1 2 da 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 da. That's it. That's the whole song. There was like 5 of those. I was like, okay, whatever.
Sometimes some of those songs come through because of the chorus, but like in general, I don't think most people listen to that shit. It's just whatever they're pushing, and it's like plays on like an HBO show for like 20 seconds. Yeah. It's all business at that point. But there's a lot of amazing rap and hip hop right now, but it's just it's essentially exactly what happened to rock and roll. Used to be soulful and every man in a way and covering a lot of spiritual and emotional ground, and then became about coke, women, and getting by. And I do need to clarify though that one of the things I loved about gangster rap in the 90s is that it was like that street reporter thing where they're like kind of poet / journalist just over this beat. And so, yeah, it's not that singing about bitches and money and cars isn't valuable, because I think it's valuable. It's a part of life. But the stuff that's getting put out right now, it's like, what is this? Is this gangster? Is it a love song? Is it NSYNC? Is it... I can't tell what it is.
We are.
Because, yeah, I love pop music. If it's a convincing hook and the lyrics come through and I feel like the person means it, I'm like, sure.
But then it's not pop music anymore. None of that ever happens anymore.
Well, you know that one song, I don't want anybody else. When I think about you, I touch myself. Like, I'm not that lady. It's a very poppy song, but I'm like, yeah, touch myself.
Huh.
And I'm just like fucking into it. And I'm just like in the shower, like boom, 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 boom. But it's just, I feel like she means it. I think she does touch herself.
Weird. I have heard about that song. That's one I still have yet to hear.
It's in Austin Powers. That's one of my favorite scenes from the very first one. Oh. He has to like deprogram the what were they called? fembots.
Oh yeah.
They're all trying to seduce him, and he's just like, no, and just does this little sexy strip to that song, and it like discombobulates the fembots.
Okay. Yeah.
uh, they're never gonna make movies like that ever again, are they?
No. Never.
That's
That's
a
a
goddamn
long.
shame.
Austin Powers is a retired series, most likely.
Oh man, so many of those comedies. Like, I love it, and then there'll just be one scene on a revisit where I'm like, oof.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
There's the Ace Ventura one with like Einhorn is Finkel, Finkel is Einhorn. Oh my god, you can't. No way. No way you would do that now.
Yeah. Those
Well,
different times.
let's get into philosophy. What's the philosophy question?
Quite.
Preposterous.
Haberdashery.
Yes. I dare say.
Do tell.
Yes.
Quite. Think deeps.
All right.
Ah, the sound of silence.
Do we think?
Yes.
Do we think? With language or pictures?
That seems too simplistic either way. I would say we think with our senses. So things you hear, things you see, things you smell.
Yeah. Well,
Like a smell can bring back a more profound memory than a visual sometimes.
well, that's not. Yeah, that's triggering memories, but like thinking. Like, how do you think about what you're thinking about all that stuff right now? And I think it's different for everybody. Like, I think some people think in pictures, but some people just have an internal dialogue going.
Well, I still think it's the senses, and I think it's kind of like a pie chart. Everybody's pie charts is different amounts, you know? Like, when you smell something immediately, it's going to have an effect to the rest of your brain and all these chemical reactions but and then there's not anybody I think that lives completely by smell, but probably a chef thinks more with their nose than a painter, perhaps. But then I know the smell of paint triggers something in me, and then there's some people that seem to have no interest in any of that, and they think purely through language, and I would even say like math is like a language.
Oh yeah.
So there's some people that are purely mathematical.
Yeah.
But it like translates and mutates and spills over itself, and that becomes words and emotions and all this other stuff.
Yeah, this list is a little bit simplistic and in some cases just outright insane. So, yeah. It's kind of fun.
That's okay.
So, you want to try another one?
Now let's go on. Let's go on to the next section.
Okay.
I
mean, I do agree with you. Like, I think it can be language or pictures or like, yeah, what you said, different things. Smell, like audio, you know.
People
would totally.
Do I
that's
think
all they move through.
When I learned Chinese, I would have dreams that had Chinese in it, but it was like background residual audio I picked up in a way. Like I understood part of it, but it was just, and the dream is an imagery that blended with this audio I'd been hearing, and yeah, I don't know. But then again, yeah, there's all kinds of weird thinking phenomenon like that where like the voice in your head. It's like some people don't have an inner dialogue with themselves. And I totally talk to myself. Like, so what are you doing, man? You fucking dipshit. Pour that milk.
Oh yeah.
And then,
I've got
some
a big
people are like,
old
nope.
internal dialogue. Oh yeah.
I just have a thought and it explodes out.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah.
Those are the serial
Mm,
killers.
I remember a thing that always creeped me out. I read some serial killer profile book way back when. Might have even talked about it on this show before. But one thing they said about kind of psychopaths, maybe I'm getting the terminology wrong, but is that they tend to view the world as everything being connected to them. So if say your pinky's acting up, my pinky's hurting me, I should cut it off. Like, because my pinky, of course I'm allowed to do that. It's kind of how they view their victims. It's just like that victim is an appendage of me. And I always thought that shit was creepy.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear people say, like, we're all one, I'm like,
you stay away from my pinky.
A little bit.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways. So, for Dear Jacob Wayne. I was going to read a quick little thing, paraphrase it. But we had somebody write in, which was lovely. Where did I put that? One moment. But I have to pay up, though, that's for sure.
Yep.
So, this is from Paul Christensen. He's a good buddy of ours, a great musician. Said, tonight I pulled a marathon with the Jacob Wayne Show and stumbled upon episode 24's Weird News segment. I could be totally off in left field here, so forgive me, but when you two were discussing the weird news story about the airplane losing parts and then falling into a Colorado neighborhood, the movie that came to mind for me was Donnie Darko and the infamous airplane engine that bookended the film. He's absolutely correct. That is the movie. And I believe we could go back and check, but I believe I promised a mug
There you go.
to whoever called that movie. So I will be sending you a free mug, Paul. Thank you for listening, and write us in the future. I'll try to create more things like that within a reasonable mug distribution time frame.
There you go. What was on the mug?
It's just the Jacob Wayne Show mug.
Oh yeah.
So it's the logo we're using
nice
for this
mug.
year. Yeah, you can actually find that section on redbubble.com. Just search Jacob Wayne Bryner.
Anyone could have a Jacob Wayne Show mug, not just by winning.
It's true. And I mean, there's other stuff on there too. You don't need my mug.
That's true. There's another
Um,
art by Jacob Wayne to put on your mug.
That's true. But anyway, that does lead me that leads me to the fact that that was the only person who wrote in. We've been doing this Dear Jacob Wayne, and then I enjoy him, but sometimes we just look up advice column stuff and just kind of respond to it. And sometimes it's just like, nah, this is just like crazy shit. So we're going to keep it the Dear Jacob Wayne's segment, but we're going to kind of like turn this into like, it's advice. It's also where you stand on stuff. It's what angle you take. So we're going to try to jam pack all our politics into this section of the show. So if you don't like that stuff, we'll get to this section. You'll hear the sting. And we'll say what we're going to talk about. Might be advice for a relationship. Might be talking about Joe Biden. And you can
Oh,
just skip ahead a little bit, and it's right on to weird news.
there you go.
So, with that, I figured let's do Biden steps up family expulsions as U.S. Mexico border arrivals keep climbing. That's from Reuters.com. And have you been hearing anything about this?
No, does that mean he's. What does that mean?
Well, there's been a big influx of people crossing the border into the United States since Trump lost, which makes a lot of sense. So when people were crossing over, Biden reopened some of those detention centers that had the migrant children.
Yeah.
And, people were like, what the fuck? Like, this is one of the things we voted you in to keep from doing. But essentially, there's been that influx of families, and so he's opening them up for teenagers. But they're trying to export them as whole families together, which is an improvement. But those things being said, it is just kind of disappointing. And, I'm very pro-immigration and taking in refugees. And all I would say is that this is a reason people should care about climate change and solutions for it. Because if climate gets worse and there's food shortages and agriculture being fucked up, there's going to be a huge refugee crisis. There already kind of is one.
Yeah.
And if people don't like that shit, then you should be getting into climate change and equalization of the class system around the globe.
Yep. Exactly.
Because if we work on climate change and we actually work to balance out everybody's, what's the word I'm looking for, like life quality, if we try to make that equitable, then you don't have to worry as much about people leaving their homes. And I know it's a very fucking crazy elaborate issue, and there's a lot of finer points to it, but in general, I'm just like, we should let these people in and, try to give them a path to citizenship in some way. But that's me. And
yeah,
I just, if you don't like taking care of refugees just coming across the border, then you should give a fuck about climate change.
well, most of those people don't like people moving from like other states, like California and shit. So whatever.
Oh yeah, California's ruining our state. Like, I grew up in Utah for a long time. I'm pretty sure when people came from California, I was really happy about it.
Yeah, they were probably cool.
They were bringing in some something different. Thank you.
For real.
Here's the thing that might cancel us. You ready?
Uh-oh. Can we get canceled? Are we that big?
I don't know.
We'll either get bigger.
Some people say it's not a real thing, so I guess they'll have to prove it. I think that what humanity's great at is cultural appropriation of one another. And so some people are very against cultural appropriation and, white guy with dreadlocks or like, some Chinese script on his arm tattooed.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's like some of the coolest stuff is when people come to the United States and bring their culture and their food and their cuisine. And it's like, we do our hair like this and it's fucking badass. And we play this game and it's badass. And, oh, that is badass. Let me show you the thing I got. And it blends and mixes. And
yeah,
that's what's great. And I totally understand having reverence for where things come from and knowing that and not just taking the piss when you do things like this. But it's just like, I remember I talked to a friend once who had a tattoo of yin yang on his leg. And he's like, I kind of feel bad. I feel like I'm appropriating the culture. And I'm like, Well, the yin yang, yin yang for the.
That's
It's a symbol of balance. It's Taoism. It's a religion.
Yeah.
Like if you believe it, then cool. That was a cultural exchange. That's awesome.
yeah. I totally yeah. I think
But if
cool.
you are done listening to us, if I offended you, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to be offensive.
Nope, I'm with you.
All right,
That's
so
the
there's the
truth.
Dear Jacob Wayne. If you don't want to hear that kind of shit anymore,
Skip.
write us in and ask for advice on stuff, and we'll ease it up.
But at least listen to the song.
It's true. And all I would say is this is a thing that we got to do. We got to like kind of look at what Biden's doing and call him on it if he's fucking something up. And I think he's kind of on the cusp of fucking this up, but like I said, there's a lot of multifaceted levels to it, and he's not getting on a news channel every day and blathering on about immigration either. So
Yeah, dude, I mean he hasn't had that much time. And
he's old.
Yeah.
You gotta give
And
him time to get to each task.
And the government's slow like molasses. And if you were like seriously, like legitimately, non-ironically making fun of him like falling downstairs, I haven't even seen this thing. I don't even even
Yeah, I've
know.
seen it. It's a little goofy,
I know,
but it's like it's old school goofy. Like Gerald Ford fell down all the time. I think Reagan did.
well, I'm just assuming that most of the people who are making fun of it, if there's a place to come from making that can be funny, I'm just saying like Trumpers who were like making fun of it, who ignored all the shit he did.
All right, I'll give you a weird middle of the road thing. I was looking at the news articles and it said Trump Jr. tweets violent meme about Biden. And I was like,
Ooh.
what? And I click on that, and all he shared was a image of Trump golfing, and then he hits the ball, and then the ball comes and hits Biden on the head. And that's what makes him fall and trip on the stairs.
Yeah,
and I'm like, if you're gonna call that violent, then it's like you're. And that's the thing. You think about Happy Gilmore, and you're like, yeah, that's actually kind of a violent movie. There's a lot of punching and fighting, but it's like, it's not violent. It's violent, but it's not like, come on,
it's stupid.
it's boink, and it's a dumb joke.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, but like to be like, it's violent. It's like, calm down.
That's dumb too.
But so yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I could admit that that's like, yeah, you're overreacting to Trump Jr. I'd like to forget about him entirely, but you know, media's gonna media.
Yep, hopefully someday.
But I guess one thing I'll say about Biden that I've enjoyed is that I like that he is kind of like, I love that I can ignore him. And I have to pay attention, but like it's just like, oh god, I can just. It's like if there's a thing in Congress, like he's like, I'm in the executive branch. I don't have anything to do with that. They pass something, they'll send it to my desk. I'm like, oh my god,
yeah.
Separation of powers.
Toxic next to me.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, man. I'm always going to hope that we would have done the Bernie thing, because that would have been something, but...
Oh, yeah. It's better.
There is a part of me that is just like, this feels, in some ways, kind of like, we're back to like a creepy, old, white dude that everybody could just make fun of, but it's like... He's not satisfying for either side. So it's like... all right, I can just kind of ignore it at least a little bit.
Yeah, it's better than we were by like tons though.
Yeah,
I don't think they're anywhere near equal. So.
If you're measuring on all metrics, it's way better on so many levels.
Yeah,
but it does feel like a little bit of going back to like the 90s, and they just make fun of Bill Clinton for being overweight, and when he goes on a jog, he stops at McDonald's.
Yeah.
That was an old SNL bit, and he's just like, "Oh, how many fries you got there?" And he's just shoving them in his face. It's just like, I don't want to get back there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, pay attention to politics, but no, it's just the president's a big doofus, and
Yep. And the other thing is he's got to undo a lot of shit. He's working on that, which
yeah,
I saw a really annoying article that was like way too Utah friendly, saying about how he signed that thing. I think it was like a second day in office. He signed the thing reversing all the stuff about the monument down in southern Utah. And
yeah, fair
that
as
needs-
I love that he did that so quickly.
Do it. He needs to do it faster. I was really annoyed.
Faster and harder.
I was so annoyed at the newspaper that twisted it to make it sound like it was a bad thing. It's like, no, fuck you. That needs to happen as quick as possible. If you haven't gone down there and seen that shit, like that, we don't need to be doing anything to that but looking at it.
What company was backing that article?
It was one of the local news sources, either Cache Valley Daily or the Herald Journal. I can't remember.
That is an issue in Utah. This has a lot of amazing resources. So there's a lot of these companies. I could do more of a deep dive. I can't speak on it too deeply off the top of my head. But yeah, it's the lobbies, and they get in with the House of Representatives in Utah and Utah's Congress, and basically, you're all going to be Republican for the most part, so we'll keep your pockets fat, and we'll take this copper from here and test this government thing down here in southern Utah, and they take advantage of the state a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Anyway, somebody could probably talk way more deeply on that than I just did, but
if you can, send us an email at Koshka@gmail.com.
Hey! All right, let's get into weird news and call it good.
Weird news. Like that. Like that. Like that. Like that. All right, here's a fun one. This one, let's see if you've never heard of this guy. Naked cowboy gets hero's welcome a week after arrest. You know the naked cowboy?
Well, there's many a naked cowboy. Some may say that there's not really room in this town for more than one naked cowboy.
Yeah, but this is the naked cowboy, the original, the OG.
From New York?
Yep.
Who played Times Square?
Yep. That's him.
Okay.
So
what happened?
He went down to Daytona, Florida. Lord knows why.
He's a Florida man now?
No, he's just down there for Bike Week. He was on the start of Bike Week on Friday, March 12th.
So I was going to say, there's a lot of naked cowboys down there.
Oh, yeah, I bet around then.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one without roller skates. So, police arrested the Times Square performer on a misdemeanor resisting arrest charge and cited him for panhandling.
He's easy with the language.
Right?
Man, naked cowboys and now we're getting into panhandling?
Well, I mean, he's naked. It could be easily handled.
We're panned.
Indeed. So, yeah, apparently there's a panhandling ordinance in Daytona Beach. So, but when he came back, everybody was like, he's back! And they all, started honking their horns and gave him a thumbs up, and he just apparently, got right back. So, apparently 1,000 people
They didn't get naked with
him
out of respect?
No.
What losers.
Oh, they broke his guitar. The cop broke his... Oh, man. That's fucked up. Yeah, they arrested him. They heard his guitar. That's some bullshit.
Ah, man, I know there's good cops out there, but holy shit, they just... There's always this story about the cop doing... Why? Why'd you do that?
For
Why the
real.
fuck did you do that?
Yeah, that's
It's a high stress environment and that guitar was being aggressive.
it made a move. I mean, they are dangerous weapons.
There's some terrible. This is your job, man. Some terrible, like, he went for the G, but the E chord. Get diminish on the ground.
He went for the backdoor substitution on the 5 chord, and I knew I had to deploy lethal force.
He went for an M13 sharp 7, and I knew I had to take him out. It's the worst day of my life.
Officer down, a major 5th.
He just kept arpeggiating the whole tone, sir.
He would not stop the Raschiato. Oh, man.
The game's not a volume knob.
Indeed. That can get you in real trouble.
Well, that seems like a good spot to end it.
I think so. That's some good music footage.
Is this 27?
I believe that sounds about right. It's been, the numbers just keep getting bigger.
Yeah. We missed last week. That's because I needed a break. I was just like, I don't have anything to say. And there was a crazy storm here in Fort Collins, and I was just like, we're a small enough show still that we get to take breaks. And all I'm going to say is we're going to be real consistent. That's important with podcasting, but I just want to give a shout out to podcasts that are bigger than us, that have audiences, and the work they put into it, because it's like the people that do it every week on time, right on time, and they're just like ready to go with content, like, good for them. It's been an interesting learning curve starting this out, so yeah, every once in a while we'll take a break, but yeah, shout out to those that keep it consistent for us, because damn.
Yeah. And if you're mad that we took a break, send us an email.
Telling us how mad you are.
Yeah. Get mad. We'll do it more regularly if you're like, I was looking forward to that, my Monday shift at work, starting out with the Jacob Wayne show. I'll be sorry, but I'll also be really happy to hear that.
Oh, yeah. That reminded me of the line of from Team America World Police, where Hans Blix, he's like the UN representative that goes to talk to Kim Jong-il.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's just like, we've been hiding weapons from us, and we're very angry with you. So we're going to write you a letter telling you how angry we are. And then he feeds him to a shark.
Yep.
All right.
Good times.
Well, I'll see you next week, and thanks for doing the first Fireside chat. I think that's going to be nice. Let us know if you like it.
Indeed. Y'all have a good week.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to The Jacob Wayne Show. If you would like to contact us, please write us at fakoshka@gmail.com. That is FAKOSHKA@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Simply search The Jacob Wayne Show and it should pop right up. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. Please write us. It helps add content to the show and makes the show even better for you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to the Welcome to the